A single apple travels farther than most of us do in a lifetime. From the quiet hills of Normandy to the vast orchards of Washington state, over 90 million tons of apples are harvested every year. Yet only a few of them will ever make it into your morning glass of juice. Behind every bottle lies a story of sunlight, patience, and precision, a delicate dance between nature and human invention. What really happens between the orchard and the bottle? How do modern machines preserve the flavor of something as ancient as the apple itself? From hand-picking under golden skies to high-speed bottling lines that never rest. This is the hidden life of the apple, a story of craftsmanship meeting science and of farmers who still believe that perfection begins on the branch. Today we follow the apple's incredible journey from its first blush of color to the moment it becomes a golden drink, ready to be shared around the world. Every August, the orchards turn into oceans of color. Red, gold, and green shimmer beneath the late summer sun as the air fills with the scent of ripe fruit. For the farmers, it is both the most beautiful and the most demanding season of the year. An apple tree needs nearly 4 years of patience before it bears its first fruit. By the time it reaches full maturity, it can give thousands of apples each harvest. Multiply that by hundreds of acres, and you begin to see the rhythm of an industry that feeds millions. In the past, pickers climbed tall wooden ladders, balancing carefully among the branches. Each apple was twisted gently from its stem one by one. Today, tradition meets innovation. Semi-automated platforms now glide silently between the rows. Workers stand on moving decks that adjust their height automatically, allowing them to reach every canopy without strain. The fruit is placed onto a soft conveyor belt, carried directly into large bins without a single bruise or scratch. One machine can transport 10 bins at a time, doubling productivity while protecting the delicate skin of every apple. In orchards where appearance is everything, the premium varieties sold fresh in supermarkets hand-picking remains the rule. Machines cannot replace the human eye that recognizes the perfect color and firmness. Yet in fields dedicated to juice and cider production, efficiency rules the day. Here, shaking machines have become the farmer's best friends. With rubber-padded arms that hug each trunk, they deliver a series of rapid, controlled vibrations, strong enough to release ripe apples but gentle enough to leave the trees unharmed. In just 1 hour, a single unit can cover dozens of hectares, boosting productivity by up to 5 times compared to manual labor. Once the ground is carpeted with fruit-sweeping machines take over, large rotating brushes gather the apples into neat rows while integrated suction systems lift them gently onto conveyors. The fruit is then passed through a debris filter and collected in bins at the rear of the harvester. When the bins are full, they are emptied into waiting trailers ready for transport to the processing facility. Nothing is wasted and every motion has purpose, the choreography of modern agriculture. In the most advanced orchards of Washington, Poland, and Germany, over-row harvesters dominate. These towering machines straddle entire rows of trees, vibrating the branches while conveyors collect the fruit continuously. They can process up to 10 tons per hour, a remarkable feat of synchronized motion. The only requirement, flat terrain and neatly aligned rows of compact trees. For the tall, irregular orchards of old Europe, traditional shaking machines still hold the advantage in flexibility. But the next chapter of this story belongs to the robots. In experimental farms across the United States and Japan, autonomous drones and robotic arms now harvest apples using 3D cameras and AI recognition. Each fruit is scanned, evaluated, and gently picked with mechanical fingers that mimic the touch of a human hand. Though still expensive and slower than large harvesters, these systems point to a future where technology and delicacy coexist perfectly. And when the work is done, the orchards fall silent again, only the sound of engines fading down the valley. Truckloads of apples begin their journey to the factories where sunlight and soil will soon become flavor and fragrance. Right after this, you'll see how these flawless apples survived the journey to the factory. Don't miss it, and if you love the art of real food, subscribe to join us on this journey. As the sun sets over the orchards, the next chapter of the apple's life begins behind factory walls. Trucks loaded with freshly harvested fruit arrive one after another, their trailers filled with the scent of earth and sweetness. Time is everything now. Within just 24 hours of harvest, every apple must reach the plant's cold storage area, a chilled chamber where the temperature hovers around 2 degrees Celsius. Here, freshness is preserved and respiration slows to a whisper. It's the pause before transformation. Once the batches are approved for processing the apples, enter the first and perhaps most underestimated stage washing. Huge stainless steel tanks filled with clean circulating water receive tons of fruit at a time. The water temperature is carefully controlled around 25 degrees Celsius, and air bubbles are pumped through the tanks to create gentle motion. A mild chlorine solution is added at a safe concentration, eliminating surface dust, soil, and microorganisms without harming the delicate skin. This step, though invisible to most consumers, is one of the keys to quality. After soaking, the apples move through a sequence of soft roller conveyors where high-pressure water jets spray from multiple angles, reaching every crease and curve of the peel. The goal is simple: remove every trace of pesticide or residue while preserving the natural shine. The washed fruit then passes through warm air blowers, which gently dry the surface to prevent mold or spoilage in later stages. By now, the apples gleam like polished glass, each one ready to face the judgment of technology. The next stage is visual inspection, where human eyes still play a role. Trained workers line the belts, scanning for bruises, cracks, or deformities. Any imperfection is removed by hand, ensuring that only flawless apples continue forward. But this is just the beginning of precision. Beyond the human gaze, an automated optical grading system awaits a technological marvel that has changed fruit processing forever. On a moving smart conveyor, each apple is scanned by high-resolution cameras from multiple angles. Color sensors measure tone and gloss. Weight detectors check density and consistency. Within milliseconds, the system creates a digital fingerprint for every apple, detecting flaws smaller than a grain of rice. If the software finds damage or discoloration, a perfectly timed puff of air gently removes the rejected apple from the line. Accuracy exceeds 90%, a level impossible for human inspection alone. Those that pass the test are automatically sorted into 2 fates. The most beautiful, evenly shaped apples go straight to the fresh fruit packaging line. They are placed carefully into trays or transparent bags, sealed, labeled, and sent to cold storage, soon to appear on supermarket shelves across the world. But the real magic happens with the rest, the millions of apples destined for transformation. For juice and cider production, appearance no longer matters, only flavor, sweetness, and balance. The selected apples are transferred through steel chutes to the grinding stage. High-speed blades rotate at thousands of revolutions per minute, reducing the fruit into a fine mash of pulp, juice, and peel. This mixture, known as the apple mash, becomes the foundation for everything that follows. Under the steady hum of machinery, what was once a solid fruit turns into liquid potential. Every movement here is synchronized, controlled by computers, monitored by sensors, perfected through decades of refinement. Yet even among the stainless steel and algorithms, there's something profoundly human about it. Engineers and technicians still rely on touch, scent, and instinct to adjust every valve, every temperature, every drop. Machines may handle the labor, but people still guard the soul of the process. And so the journey continues from orchard to water tank, from sunlight to stainless steel. The apples are now ready for the next transformation, the extraction of their pure golden essence. Because what happens next is where science meets flavor and nature begins to speak in liquid form. The apple mash now rests inside massive stainless steel tanks glowing under soft factory light. Here begins the most delicate phase, the extraction of juice, where pressure and precision decide everything. In older days, wooden screw presses slowly squeezed the pulp one layer at a time, a method as ancient as cider itself. But modern facilities have evolved. Today, the work is done by drum presses and belt presses, quiet giants that can process hundreds of tons a day while preserving the freshness that defines a perfect apple. Inside a drum press, a rotating cylinder lined with fine mesh gently squeezes the mash. Juice flows out through microscopic holes, while the fibrous residue known as pomace remains behind. The newer belt press takes this principle further. The pulp is spread between two continuous belts that move together under controlled pressure. As the belts pass through rollers, every drop of juice is carefully extracted, leaving the pulp nearly dry. Compared to older systems, these presses increase yield by up to 30%, proof that efficiency and flavor can coexist. The liquid gold emerging from these presses is far from ready. Cloudy rich with fiber and natural pectin, it carries the essence of the orchard, but also impurities. Before it can become the clear juice, we know it must be filtered. The first filtration is mechanical mesh screens that remove large particles. Next comes microfiltration, where the juice passes through membranes so fine they capture even invisible sediments. Every stage is monitored by technicians who adjust temperature, flow, and pressure to protect the juice's natural sweetness. In one corner of the factory, a veteran engineer named Claire adjusts a valve with quiet focus. She has worked here for 20 years. Machines are smart, she says, but flavor still listens to people. Her team watches the gauges, carefully balancing oxygen levels and temperature to keep the juice from oxidizing, the enemy of taste and color. For them, every batch is personal. They can tell just by the smell when the apples came from the late August harvest or the early autumn wave. It's a kind of craftsmanship that no machine can fully replace. Once filtered, the juice flows into large mixing tanks. The temperature is raised to around 40 degrees Celsius, warm enough to stabilize enzymes, but gentle enough to preserve the apple's natural notes. The enzymes that cause cloudiness and bitterness begin to break down. Then the liquid is rapidly cooled, locking in its crisp aroma. This step, called enzymatic stabilization, ensures that the juice remains bright and smooth even months after bottling. Meanwhile, nothing goes to waste. The leftover apple pomace is collected and dried. Rich in fiber and nutrients, it becomes animal feed, organic fertilizer, or even the raw material for natural cosmetics and bioplastics. In some plants, it's fermented to produce ethanol, closing the loop of a truly sustainable system. Every piece of the apple continues to serve a purpose, a silent tribute to efficiency and respect for nature. By now, the juice gleams like liquid sunlight. Its journey from soil to steel is nearly complete, but one crucial challenge remains: safety. Before it reaches the bottle, it must face heat and time, the twin guardians of purity. And so begins the next transformation, where the science of preservation ensures that nature's flavor can travel far beyond the orchard. The golden juice, clear and sweet, now flows toward one of the most critical crossroads in its journey, the moment where heat meets flavor. In the old days, juice was boiled in large, open vats, its freshness sacrificed for safety. Today, the art of preservation has evolved into a science of precision. Every second, thousands of liters move through networks of stainless steel tubes, entering the world of flash pasteurization, a process as fast as it is vital. Inside these sealed systems, the juice is heated to about 90 degrees Celsius, then instantly cooled to room temperature in less than 15 seconds. The goal, to eliminate any trace of harmful microbes while leaving vitamins, aroma, and color untouched. It's a dance between temperature and time, where even a single degree can make the difference between brilliance and blandness. Sensors monitor every millisecond. Computers record every fluctuation. Yet behind the quiet hum of machines, human expertise still guides the process. Operators watch the flow on glowing monitors, ready to intervene at the slightest anomaly. Because in the end, flavor is not just chemistry, it's intuition. Once pasteurized, the juice is transferred into sterile tanks, waiting for its final destination, the bottle. But the question remains, how can something that's been heated so intensely still taste so fresh? The answer lies in balance. The brief exposure to high temperature destroys unwanted enzymes, but avoids the prolonged heat that dulls natural sweetness. It's this precise control that keeps modern apple juice tasting like it was just pressed moments ago. In the laboratory nearby, technicians test samples from every batch. They measure pH, sugar levels, clarity, and even color hue under bright spectrometers. Only when all parameters fall within perfect range does the batch earn approval. Every drop of juice you drink has a record-time temperature batch number, even the orchard it came from. It's transparency at a scale unimaginable a generation ago. Yet for all the technology and control, there's something almost paradoxical about this stage. To preserve nature, we must briefly destroy it. To keep the apple's soul alive, we must let it face the heat. The engineers call it sterilization. The farmers call it protection. And perhaps both are right. Because somewhere between boiling and breathing, between science and sweetness, lies the fragile truth of modern food. We have learned to command nature, but only by respecting its limits. So where exactly is that line? When does science stop helping and start changing what nature intended? That's the question we face next. The juice has survived its trial by fire. It's now pure, stable, and waiting quietly in vast, stainless steel tanks, glowing like amber beneath soft white light. From this moment on, everything must happen in absolute sterility. Every pipe, every valve, every droplet of water that touches the system has been sterilized and sealed. In this final stage, technology becomes invisible. Its purpose now is simply to protect what has already been achieved. When the filling line starts, it feels like watching choreography. Empty bottles glide forward in endless rows, washed first with jets of purified water at 80 degrees Celsius, then dried by hot, sterile air. The filling nozzles descend with precision, pouring exactly the same amount into every bottle, not a drop more, not a drop less. As each bottle fills, a soft golden ribbon of juice flows smooth and perfect. Caps descend, twist, and seal with mechanical grace. Within seconds, the bottles are locked airtight, their contents safe from oxygen, light, and time itself. What follows is one of the quiet triumphs of modern food science. The product is shelf-stable, fresh-tasting, and rich in nutrients. Tests conducted by leading research centers show that flash-pasteurized apple juice retains over 85% of its original polyphenols and antioxidants. The natural pectin, the fiber that supports digestion and heart health, remains largely intact. The vitamin C loss, once over 50% in old boiling methods, is now reduced to less than 10. In other words, technology no longer replaces nature. It extends its lifespan. Still, critics remain. Some claim that industrial juice is lifeless, stripped of authenticity by machines and mass production. They say it tastes the same everywhere, that it's too perfect to be real. But the data and the people tell another story. In a quiet corner of the factory, John, a 60-year-old operator who has worked here since his 20s, watches the conveyor pass before him. Every bottle that leaves here, he says, is part of our harvest. We may not pick apples anymore, but we still make sure they taste like the ones from our childhood. His voice carries the quiet pride of a craftsman who has lived through decades of change, from wooden ladders to robotic sorters. He doesn't see technology as the enemy. To him, it's a new tool for an old promise, preserving the purity of the orchard. The machines continue their endless motion. Labels slide smoothly onto the bottles, each one marked with origin, batch number, and expiration date. A scanner checks every label, rejecting any that are misaligned by even a millimeter. Pallets rise on automated lifts, shrink-wrapped, and move to cold storage, their final stop before shipping to the world. The process is mesmerizing in its perfection, but beyond the numbers and automation, a deeper truth emerges. This is not about speed or profit. It's about continuity, the ancient rhythm of turning fruit into sustenance, now refined by precision and care. Each bottle is a promise kept that the flavors of nature can coexist with the discipline of science. And yet one question lingers. If machines can now preserve 85% of nature's gifts, what happens to the 15% we lose? Can it ever be recovered? Should it maybe what remains imperfect is what keeps the process human? Because perfection in the end has always been a moving target, something we chase but never truly capture. Claire, the engineer from earlier, returns for the final inspection. She holds a freshly sealed bottle up to the light. The amber liquid shines like a jewel. "We've learned to do in minutes what once took days," she says softly. But the heart of the apple that still takes time. You can't automate that. As the bottles roll toward their destinations, a final truth settles in: technology didn't replace the orchard. It carried it forward one bottle at a time, across continents, across generations. But this story is not over, because every system, no matter how advanced, faces its limits. And the next frontier isn't about machines or heat. It's about balance, how to keep flavor alive in a changing climate, in an unpredictable world. That's the question that will define the next generation of apple growers and the future of every bottle we drink. While most of the world drinks its apples cold and clear, another part of the harvest takes a slower, older path, one that still breathes with history. In a quiet valley in northern Italy, the scent of fermenting apples fills the air. Wooden barrels line a dim cellar, their staves darkened by time and tradition. Here, the apple becomes something else entirely: cider. And this is where the story of modern production meets the spirit of the past. Giovanni has worked in this cellar for 40 years. His hands, rough from years of lifting barrels, still move with care as he checks the temperature gauge on a fermentation tank. Machines can make juice, he says, his Italian accent soft and deliberate. But flavor belongs to time. Around him, hundreds of liters of cider slowly transform under the quiet guidance of yeast. The process takes anywhere from 1 to 6 months, depending on the variety and the patience of the maker. The science is simple. Yeast consumes sugar, producing alcohol and subtle aromas, but the craft lies in the control, in knowing when to let nature work freely and when to intervene. Giovanni explains that even with advanced temperature systems and digital sensors, he still relies on his nose and ear. When it sings, he smiles, you know the fermentation is alive. That's something no machine can measure. In many parts of Europe, Normandy, Asturias, Bavaria, cider making has become both a livelihood and an identity. Each region has its own flavor shaped by climate, soil, and culture. Normandy's cider carries a floral sweetness. Spain's is sharp and wild. Germany's is clean and dry. These differences are not imperfections, they are fingerprints, proof that tradition still breathes through diversity. Yet even here, modernity plays its part. Some producers now use stainless steel fermentation tanks to ensure consistency and hygiene. Others still swear by oak barrels, where the wood breathes, releasing tannins and aromas that give cider its depth. The choice is no longer between old and new. It's between control and character. And often the best makers blend both, aging part of the batch in steel for freshness, the rest in oak for warmth and complexity. As the cider matures, Giovanni draws a small glass from the barrel. The liquid is amber and alive, tiny bubbles rising to the surface. He tastes it slowly. "Not yet," he says, smiling. "Maybe another week." That patience, that refusal to rush, is what separates craftsmanship from production. In an age of instant results, it's a quiet rebellion. Across Europe and America, small producers are finding new ways to honor this craft. Some turn apple waste into bioenergy to power their presses. Others experiment with organic fermentation, reducing carbon footprints and plastic waste. In England and Denmark, zero-waste cideries now reuse every byproduct, peel core, even carbon dioxide, creating closed-loop systems that would have amazed the farmers of a century ago. The old art of fermentation has become a symbol of sustainability, of how tradition and innovation can share the same glass. On a broader scale, the apple now carries meaning beyond flavor. Nationally, it represents resilience, the survival of local agriculture in a globalized market. Regionally, it embodies identity, a flavor that connects people to land and memory. Globally, it stands as a quiet example of balance between progress and preservation, speed and patience, science and soul. But even balance has a cost. As industrial systems grow more perfect, small producers struggle to compete. Automation saves time, but it also erases the fingerprints of individuality. Giovanni looks at the new automated line in a nearby facility and shrugs. "It's good," he says, "but I hope they still leave room for imperfection. That's where beauty lives." His words linger as the camera drifts over rows of glowing barrels. Each one hums softly, filled with cider that tastes like memory, a harmony of sweetness, acidity, and the quiet music of time. Tradition has not been lost. It has been renewed, carried by those who remember that even in an age of algorithms, flavor still needs a heartbeat. But that leads to the next question, the one every generation must ask. Can tradition survive perfection? Or will the pursuit of flawless efficiency finally silence the art of imperfection? From orchards bathed in sunlight to bottles sealed with precision, the apple's journey tells a story larger than itself, a story of humanity learning to honor nature through understanding, not domination. Every process, every innovation, every quiet gesture of care adds a new verse to that story. And yet, as we look toward the future, one truth remains constant: the apple still depends on the same sunlight, the same soil, and the same patience it always has. Across the world, a new generation of producers is rewriting what sustainability means. In Denmark, apple waste is now transformed into biodegradable plastics. In California, solar-powered plants run entire production lines using the energy once wasted as heat. In Poland, research teams extract antioxidants from apple pomace to create natural medicines and skincare, turning byproducts into new beginnings. It's not just recycling, it's redemption, the idea that nothing in nature is ever truly wasted. For nations, this transformation means security, food industries that protect both people and planet. For regions, it means pride, craftsmanship that defines culture even in the digital age. For the world, it means hope that progress doesn't have to erase the beauty of imperfection, but can learn to work beside it. But a new question rises, one that will shape the next century of food and farming. As technology grows ever more precise, will we still recognize the taste of nature when we find it? Will the apple remain the symbol of simplicity, or become something else, a product perfected but detached from its roots? Perhaps the answer lies not in machines, but in us. In our willingness to slow down, to taste carefully, to remember that behind every sip is a tree, a farmer, and a story worth preserving. If you believe that true craftsmanship still matters in a high-tech world, join us. Subscribe and be part of this journey, because nature, when respected, never loses its flavor. And remember, the future of the apple is the future of us all.